We're talking about this today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chaos. My name is Vlad, the-tek, and today we're going to be talking about Warhammer 40k for some reason. First off, easy content. Also, I've been getting really too much into Warhammer for my own good. In fact, I got a shining example right here. I actually painted up this guy. I don't know if you can see him. Nope. I'll just have to put in a picture right about here-ish. Somewhere here. Of this guy standing tall, fully painted. I've got about 10 of those guys painted up, and I got a bunch of other Space Marines painted up and a bunch still that need to be painted for me to actually play the game. I'm going to put this guy away real quick. Anyways, I've gotten really heavily into Warhammer, and since this book is probably going to be obsolete here pretty soon, I thought I would bring to you the joy that is Warhammer. So, I'm going to try to explain to you guys as best as I can. There's only one problem. I'm autistic, so sometimes my words don't come out right. So this is an autistic guy explains Warhammer 40k. Most of you guys probably know it as Warhammer, but that's wrong. So why is it called Warhammer 40k? Because it takes place in the 41st millennium, but it's called 40k, not 41k. Trust me, it makes sense. Warhammer itself is a product line of miniatures from Games Workshop, and Warhammer 40k is just one of the many games that you can play from Warhammer. They also have games like Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warcry, Blood Bowl. They have Warhammer Quests. There's a bunch of different games. Today we're talking about Warhammer 40k. All right, we're talking about 40k. Can you please explain it to me, you freaking nerd? So Warhammer 40k is the sci-fi version of their Warhammer games, whereas Warhammer Age of Sigmar is kind of like a D&D style, well, just fantasy version of the game. But I thought that sci-fi was another form of fantasy. Just shut up and let me explain it. Whereas Age of Sigmar takes place in more of a fantasy setting, Warhammer 40k takes place in the far, far future. Or, to be more precise,
in the grim darkness of the far future.
So, before we get too far into this story, which I'm still kind of, iffy about, and we may not get into on this video, we're just going to talk about the game itself. When Warhammer first came out, it wasn't even a game. The actual first edition of Warhammer was actually something called Warhammer Rogue Trader, I believe, or something. I don't know, but it was something to that effect. And it was just a product line of toys, as I mentioned before, that you could assemble and collect. And originally, Games Workshop actually made models for, and this is actually kind of cool, which kind of brings me full circle into another hobby. I dropped a thing. This game. Dungeons and Dragons. Games Workshop was actually the biggest provider back then, or at least one of the providers of miniatures for Dungeons and Dragons. That game. As I mentioned, Warhammer was not a game yet, but it was just a collection of different ideas of games that could be played. However, what came next was the single greatest breakthrough in all of mankind, and don't you fucking dare try to challenge me. The Warhammer 40k 2nd edition box set. Yep, they never actually released a first edition. Warhammer 40k would single-handedly become the game that would make you so hopelessly addicted to collecting, assembling, and painting little plastic toys so often that you go broke and eventually forget that it's even a game. And of course, one of the things you actually need to play the game is this, and you don't even need that. And you know most of these people are going broke because holy shit, look at them prices. Not to mention, to actually play the game, the rulebook itself is $50. And then you have to buy more rule books, because why not? Those rule books come in the form of codices and indices, which each army has to have in order for you to actually play the damn game. But wait, there's more! There's also add-ons, such as Phoenix Rising, which, by the way, I need to get for my Death Guard army and my Drukhari army. And every year, another book comes out for roughly the same amount of money, called Chapter Approved, which is basically like patch notes. Warhammer nerds are broke. That's the thing I'm trying to get across. So how is this game even played? Well, good question. First off, you assemble and paint your armies. Second, you find other people who have done the same thing. Third, you actually get a bunch of different terrain together. Now, typically when people are starting out, they use like cardboard boxes and books and stuff as terrain, but some people will go so far as to spend more money on Games Workshop toys that are actually just terrain. They're meant to look pretty, when you could just make the same thing out of like foam and just cheap-ass acrylic paints. And then you'll actually take your army and comprise a huge list, and you'll actually take your units, which, by the way, a unit is a collection of models, and sometimes not all models are units, but some units are single models. It's kind of hard to explain. Hi, babe. I'm recording. You mind if I use this in the video? That's what I like to hear. You want me to give your army a shout out?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm gonna jump off here and finish the recording.
Okay.
Alright, love you. Bye-bye. That was my girlfriend. She plays Warhammer 2. Plays with the Adeptus Sororitas army that she is currently trying to build. She's also trying to get the inspiration for a YouTube channel, so comment in the comment section below. Start a channel, Vlad's girlfriend. Where was I? Oh yeah, plastic toys. So you have units that are sometimes single models or comprised of a bunch of different models. And you have to take your toys and shoot a bunch of shit at the enemy's toys and wipe them all out. So that's the game, but what is the story? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I barely know myself. Come to think of it, whenever you read the codices and all the story that's contained in those, it doesn't even seem like Games Workshop completely know. But the community as a whole kind of have a collection of different ideas, and the reason why they're a collection of ideas is I believe that it's kind of intentional. It's almost as if the people writing the codices are the leaders of those armies themselves, so it's kind of like propaganda, in a way. Like, your army never loses is the way it's written. Because that's the same tone I've seen with the Drukhari army, the Death Guard, and the Adeptus Sororitas. It's like, no matter which codex you read, it seems like their team never loses. Which is fucking wrong. So anyways, here's the gist of the story that I know. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far into the future, there lived a humble man known as the Emperor of Mankind. This was a man who thought that 1939 Germany had the right idea, because he decided to get all of mankind unified in one major giant colony. Seriously, there's really no black and whites with this freaking game. It's all gray. A lot of people worship this man as a god because he was so adept in using psychic powers. A lot of people actually did what he said because this guy was so strong and so imbued with psychic energy, which by the way is Warhammer's way of saying magic, that he would scare the literal shit out of people into doing what he wanted. Anyways, this man eventually had some kind of structure to his Imperium of Man, and he had a bunch of different Primarchs rule over different sectors. Well, a bunch of people thought that the Führer God Emperor had the wrong idea and decided to rebel. One man in particular, Horus. Those were the days of the Horus Heresy, where man slowly followed to chaos. Oddly enough, if you read their codices, it actually makes them seem more like the good guys, because more often than not, the Imperium of Man is not really a good thing. Like I said, no black and white, just gray. So Horus formed the Black Legion and also got the Death Guard to fight alongside of him. Meanwhile, the Thousand Sons were trying to deal with some mutagen by casting a magic spell that got them cursed into turning into dust or something, trapped inside their power armor till the end of time. Sucks to be them. And on the way to the fight, Mortarion thought it was a great idea to let Typhus pilot the ship, and he piloted it right into a psychic warp storm, which got them infected with every plague known to man, and slowly started turning their organs into liquid shit. Mortarion made a deal with this particular devil called Nurgle, and dun-da-dun, Death Guard was formed. So the Metal Militia and the Stank Boys all got together and formed one big mega army called the Rebellion or some shit, and they went to fight the God Daddy Emperor himself. Horus got spanked, the Death Guard actually escaped pretty much unscathed, the Black Legion all but crumbled, and they were scattered to the winds for about 10,000 years. People believe now that the God Emperor is dead, which I believe too, because I'm one of the people fighting on the side of chaos. Why? Because metal. Quality content right here. The members of the Black Legion were scattered amongst the stars or some shit like that, while the Death Guard went back to the home planet of Barbarous to form Barbarous 2.0, the Stankening. Shortly thereafter, a man named Abaddon, or Abaddon? This guy decided to despoil some things. He somehow united the Black Legion, and they fucked up some more shit for the Emperor. Because fuck that guy. The Emperor of Mankind's an asshole. Why do you guys feel good about playing as Space Marines? Then again, I play the Death Guard, which is basically a piss take on Christianity, but I'll get into that theory in a later video, so subscribe for more. So Abaddon formed the Chaos Space Marines, the Death Guard formed the Death Guard, the Plague Marines, the Thousand Sons formed the Rubric Marines, each one of these borrowing powers from a god of chaos. You have Khorne, who is primarily over the Black Legion, and then you have the Death Guard, who are influenced by the god Nurgle, and you have the Thousand Sons, influenced by the god Tzeentch, and then you have the fourth god, Slaanesh. I'll probably go into explaining these gods and their armies in a later video, but you have Khorne, the blood god of war. You have Tzeentch, the god of secrets and knowledge or something. You have Nurgle, the god of death, decay, plagues, and rebirth. And then you have Slaanesh, the god of drugs, rock and roll, and woohoo. By the way, Slaanesh is the youngest of the gods who is literally birthed into being from the depravity of the Drukhari, another army I like to play. So hopefully that gives you an idea on what they're all about. It's actually far darker than you think. Again, later videos, subscribe for more. And in the 41st millennia, we have Warhammer. That's the story. It's hard for me to explain this because first off, autism, shit gets lost in translation. Second off, it's a very complex, not so black and white 50 Shades of Grey kind of thing, each containing their own version of the history that led to the 41st millennia. So this is a very complex and broad topic. So it's really hard for me to get into the lore, but all you really need to know is that one guy wanted to form 1939 Germany, and he had a bunch of people rebel against him because Germany's bad, okay, or something. And then you have the armies of chaos, who themselves aren't bad, for the most part. Literally, every army is technically bad. Because either they're doing evil things directly, or they're borrowing powers from an evil god in the form of psychic energy, magic. Or you just have the Xenos threat, which are things like the Dark Eldar, which are basically dark elves in space. The Necrons, who are dead robot people from Egypt. Orcs, who are just orcs. They like to destroy things. Tyranids, which are the bug version of the thing. Literally, the only two examples of good people that I found in the entire game are the Tau Empire and the Craft Worlds, Eldari. That's it. And I'll try my best to go into broad detail about these different armies and the lore behind them in a future video with my, fun way of explaining things. So if you guys want more, subscribe for more, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know how I am wrong, because even I don't grasp a lot of these topics, or tell me how I screwed up with my translation. And I will be sure to make an update on that in the future. And you can also expect to see more gameplay videos as well. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to show me some love down below by hitting the like button. And don't forget to check out the annotations for more videos. And I will see you in the next video.